Episode number 16. You are listening to the More Than a Lawyer podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help lawyers and mums to thrive in their careers and motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversation with awesome women to help you reduce the struggle in your juggle. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today. I am, as always, super excited to be doing the show and to be speaking to you today. Today's episode is a little shorter than we're used to, but I'm going to be talking about a topic which I think is really important and apt for this time of year. We're going to be reflecting on the past year as we gear up to celebrating Christmas and the end of 2016. Now is a really good time to start thinking about the start of 2017. We are only a few days away from the start of December. It's the 28th of November today. And I know it sounds cliche, but seriously, where has the time gone? I mean, January just seemed like it was around the corner. It was just the other day, and now we're ending the year. So I think perhaps I notice it more now as a mother because time is kind of measured against the age of my son. So I see how quickly he is growing. He's now 18 months old, and it just highlights to me how quickly time is passing. And I'm sure all of the mamas listening out there can relate to that. But I think it's good before we get swept up with Christmas preparations. It's a good idea to start reflecting on the past year. So that once Christmas passes and the dust settles around the new year, you can hit the ground running with the goals that you want to achieve for the coming year. And notice that I'm talking about goals and not New Year's resolutions. I much prefer talking about effective goal setting than asking about setting New Year's resolutions, because I know so many people that set those and by February they are no longer following those resolutions because they're just kind of pie in the sky things that we say we want to achieve, but then we don't put any action plan around them or any specific time frames or break down into specific goals. So we say things like, I want to lose weight, and that sounds all great, but what does that actually mean? Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to lose 20 pounds? Do you want to tone up? What exactly are you trying to achieve? And then going further to say, okay, well, how will I actually make that happen? So I want us to move past setting resolutions to actually setting effective goals, and I'll be doing an episode on how to set effective goals in a couple of weeks, so watch out for that. But before we get into setting goals, it's really important to take some time to look back over the past year, or over a past time period, so that you can ensure that the goals that you are setting are truly in line with your priorities and your values, and that you're able to set them on the basis of some really good reflection. And I must say that having a yearly review is a really great way to slow down, to have some time to reminisce about your favourite moments, to make sure that you're taking time to appreciate all the little things in life as well as the big things in life. And also for you to draw some conclusions on the kind of things that have been making you happy and the things that haven't. So then you can look at how you want to rejig things and shape things for the coming year. You will be familiar with having appraisals at work. Once a year, you will sit down with your manager and go through what's gone well in the year prior and set goals and talk about what you want to do going forward. And we all are used to doing that in our professional lives, but we don't always apply that in our personal lives. So I think it's really important to really do a 360 of your life and look at all the different areas, and take some time to reflect, and then take some time to think about what you want to do moving forward. So there are many ways that you can approach having effective reflection time. The fundamental aspect of it is to set aside some time. You need to have some quiet time, some time where you can reflect. So I would say schedule some time to do that, whether that is a few hours, half a day, whatever time you can manage to carve out of your schedule, but absolutely give yourself some time and some space and some quiet so that you can spend some time really reflecting and digging deep. And then you might be thinking, okay, so I've got my time, what do I do with it? So I'm going to share with you 10 questions that you can ask yourself, and there are so many reflective questions you can ask yourself, and there are different ways that you could go through this process, but I think that these 10 are a good starting point. So I'm going to run through them with you. I will give you some examples of how I've approached these questions in the past as well, and hopefully you'll find these useful as a way to structure your reflection over the past year. Okay, so let's jump in. So the first one is, if you could describe your 2016 in 3 words, what would those words be? So once you start thinking about the words, you are going to start thinking about the experiences that you've had and how it's been. So it's really useful to try and break it down into 3 words. I would say for me, my 2016 has been interesting, exciting, and new. I've learned a lot of new things in 2016, so that's what I would say. Okay, number 2 is, what new things did you discover about yourself? Now, we often go through life doing similar things over and over again, but when we do encounter new experiences or we go through difficult times, we can often find out things about ourselves. So think about anything you learnt new about yourself. You know, if you entered into motherhood, you may have learned a whole lot of new things about yourself. If you change jobs, generally with change comes different aspects of your either personality or character that you may not have known existed before, or that you've managed to develop. So think about that. Number 3 is, what single achievement are you most proud of? Is there anything that you have done this year, big or small, that you are really, really proud of? And if there is, then write that down, note it down, and have a think about why. What about it makes you really proud? Okay, number 4 is, what was the best news you received this year? Did you receive any exciting news that you would like to really reflect on? Number 5 is, which of your personal qualities turned out to be the most helpful this year? So this one goes to starting to really understand yourself and get to know yourself in terms of your character strengths and your personality strengths. And we will talk more about this in another episode, in terms of understanding your character strengths so that you can leverage those in work and outside of work. So it may be that being outgoing and friendly has meant that you've made really good connections this year, or that being good at research has meant that you've managed to learn new things or develop your role in different ways. There could be so many different ways that your skills could have turned out to be really helpful. So have a think about that. Number 6 is, who was your number one go-to person that you could always rely on? I've talked about in the previous episodes about network and how important it is to build your network. And so really think about the people that have been around you, that have been in your immediate circle or extended circle, that have really supported you this year, and think about whether or not you want to invest more in those relationships, in building those relationships, so that you can go into the next year having people around you that you know are going to support you and that you know are going to help you to achieve what you want to achieve and to be the type of person that you want to be. Number 7 is, what or who are you most thankful for? Now, as we run through life and we get really busy, we can often notice the negatives a lot, and we can often be striving for the next thing or to achieve the next goal. But it's a good practice to get used to identifying what you're grateful for and what you're thankful for, so that you don't lose track of all the good things that are happening. So really think about who you're thankful for and what you're thankful for, and that can always put you in a better mood. When you've had a bad day, I would suggest taking some time to sit down and think, okay, bad things have happened, but what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? There's always something, even if it's just the fact that you woke up this morning and that you have breath and you have life. We've always got something to give thanks for. Okay, and number 8 is, think about, was there something that you did for the very first time in your life this year? Have you done anything really, really new? So I know that many people have a bucket list. Many people have those things that they'd like to do or try. So is there anything that you tried this year, whether it's something like snowboarding or jumping out of a plane, or something as simple as going on a roller coaster, or going to a theme park, or whatever it is, something new that you tried this year, and then think about what you loved about that thing and whether you want to incorporate doing more things like that in the coming year. I would say one thing that I've done this year that I hadn't done before is really connected with a lot of people online. So, through launching this podcast, I've had the opportunity to meet a whole load of amazing people, amazing women, and have had a mastermind group start, and have been able to just really get to know some people across the pond in different parts of the world, in Australia, in the States. It's been amazing. So just putting myself out there and being vulnerable and just opening myself up to letting people know my story has meant that I've then been able to connect with more people. So I would definitely say that that was a good thing that I did this year, that I will definitely take into the next year and carry on doing. So number 9 is a really good one. It is, if someone was to write a book about your life in 2016, what genre would it be? What genre would that book fall into? So if you think about your year as a whole, what has it been about? Has it been a drama? Has it been drama filled year? Has it been all about love? Has it been about adventure? What category would you place your life in 2016? I love this one because it really gets you to start thinking outside the box. So I'd love to hear from you, some of your genres. So feel free to drop me a line at janine@lightboxcoaching.com and let me know. Because yeah, I love things like that. And then, okay, so the last thing, number 10, is what was your biggest breakthrough moment career wise? Now, I know for a lot of us, we are juggling work and family life and sometimes switching roles and progressing into new roles, or changing the way that we're working. So really thinking about what your biggest breakthrough was. So it can be challenging if you're trying to switch from normal work to flexible working after becoming a mum, but even though we think it's challenging, it's not impossible. So you may have had breakthroughs in this area. I know for me, I decided I didn't want to go back to working as a corporate lawyer in private practice, and I left my job before lining up a new job, but actually an opportunity came up to work in-house and on a part-time basis, and it's been great for me and my family. It's worked really, really well. So that was a breakthrough for me, just stepping out in faith and saying, I know that I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know what I don't want to do right now, and that allowed me to have the space to accept an opportunity as it came up. So thinking about your breakthroughs career-wise and realizing that even if you haven't got to where you want to get to completely, you may well have made massive steps or strides towards that. So really acknowledge that. So those are the 10 questions. Now there are loads of other questions that you could possibly ask yourself, but these are a good place to start. And don't worry if you're listening in the car or you're on the move and you're thinking, how am I going to remember all these? I've got you covered. I have written these all down in the show notes, so head over to lightboxcoaching.com/episode 16, and then you can grab all the questions there. And if you want to dig deeper and you want to go a little further and you need some support around this area, or some help and guidance in terms of reflecting and then taking those reflections and using them to map out your plan for 2017 and going forward, then do drop me a line, because I am always here, willing and ready to support you in any way that I can. So again, my email address is janine@lightboxcoaching.com, and I love hearing from my listeners, so do reach out. One thing I just wanted to say is, if you haven't done so already, and you are a mum who is returning to work, or you have recently returned to work, please head over to the website and grab your free training on how to have post-baby career success. I touch on various elements of how to kind of set yourself up for success after you've had your baby, and how you can leverage your skills so that you are working smarter and not harder when you go back to work. So really, really useful. So do head over and grab that on the website. So that brings me to the end of today's episode. I love chatting to you guys. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Until then, look after you and look after your babies. And please, if you are enjoying these episodes and this podcast, leave a review on iTunes. It helps more women just like you to find the show and to join in the conversation. So I'd really appreciate it if you could spare 60 minutes or so, 60 minutes, 60 seconds or so to leave a review. All right, so I will leave you now, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Our podcast features music from Awesound.